Hi again. My name is Dan Sokolow, and I like stereoscopic 3D video photography. I'm uploading something new that I just recorded today to YouTube. So while it's going, I thought I'd make this little video to show you a new idea or a few little tricks that I thought up. First of all, in the other video I showed this little inexpensive $90 camcorder camera that takes 3D. And in some of the videos that I've made, you notice I pointed out when there was wind noise. That's a problem with recording audio outdoors. When there's a wind, it really makes bad noises in the microphone. And in the recording business, they do have covers that are put over microphones, usually made out of foam, to cut down on the wind noise. But how do you put that on a camcorder or camera? Well, the instructions point out that the microphone on this camera is behind some little holes in the case right there. Usually it's underneath this white circle, which I applied. It's just a little black area with holes in it. So I had the idea of making my own windsock out of the ear cushions from some old headphones I had. The headphones are broken, but I had them laying around, so I took the ear cushions off. You can buy new ear cushions as replacements if you go to a store like Radio Shack, but I had these laying around. So I just cut a little circle out, which I did with a paper punch, and I had these hole reinforcers that you use to reinforce holes on binder paper, 3-ring binder paper. Come in a little box you can get at the stationery store. They're self-adhesive. So I pulled one of those out of the box and stuck the little circle that I had cut out of the foam onto the sticky side of the reinforcing ring and stuck it in place over the microphone. So I'm going to give that a try, see how it works. And actually I did try it on my other camcorder, which is the one I'm using right now, so I can't show it to you. And it seemed to make a big improvement. There still was a little wind noise, but it's much improved over just the bare microphone hole. So you can give that a try. It's easy to put it on, take it off, get a whole box of those things for just a few dollars. So that's one little tip to try. Another thing, this camera doesn't have a tripod socket, and I really would like to stabilize it on a tripod for taking some videos. So what do I do about that? Well, I had the idea, which I haven't installed yet, of sticking a tripod socket threaded nut on the bottom here. This is called a T-nut. You can find them in hardware stores. They're made for inserting into wood, and they have little prongs that embed themselves in the wood when you drill a hole and push this through, and then put a bolt in from the other side. So I took one of these and with pliers I just flattened out the prongs so they wouldn't be a hazard. And the next thing I'm going to do is bend over the flange part a little bit so that it conforms to the shape of the bottom of the camera, right in the center, the valence point, and then stick it on with some mirror mounting squares. These are Scotch permanent mounting squares. It's a little double sticky foam pad, adhesive coating on both sides. You pull off the protective paper and it sticks on and something sticks to it. So I'm going to cut it the right shape, stick it on the back of this thing, stick it in place once I've got it conformed to the contours, and use that as my tripod socket. It'll, you know, it's from my experience with these things, they stick pretty well. You have to clean both surfaces really well to get any grease off of them using something like window cleaner, Windex or something, and stick it on. I think it'll last pretty well. And the camera's so light, it really doesn't bother me. I think it'll survive. And if you accidentally knock it off, it's easy to just take a new mirror mounting pad, stick it on again. So I'm going to give that a try. And then another idea for stabilizing the camera when you're moving is to make some kind of portable camera stabilizer. Now, the movie industry was revolutionized by a device called the Steadicam, and the inventor of the Steadicam even got an Academy Award for his invention. Steadicam is a very elaborate system of arms that are articulated and balanced so that the operator has this belt and harness with the articulated arm on which there's a pole and a real smooth mount that lets it swivel. And on top of the pole is a platform, like a tripod platform, to mount the camera. And then the bottom of the pole comes out and it has a TV monitor on it that he uses to watch what he's recording, because you can't obviously stick your head up if you've got this thing moving around in front of you. It's so well balanced that the operator can very smoothly move it around, even though he's making jerky motions, walking around, going upstairs. The camera kind of glides. And I'm sure you've seen that kind of effect in movies where you can't imagine how they do it, but the camera follows somebody through the parking lot, up the stairs, into the building, down the stairs, around corners, and kind of floats around following the action wherever it goes. Well, that's done with the Steadicam. Steadicams cost several $1,000s, and they're not for professional ones. They're heavy, they're big, but of course they're supporting heavy, huge professional equipment. So how does an amateur like me stabilize his camera? Well, there are little devices that you can find that are commercially made for stabilizing small cameras. But there was an article on the internet by a graduate student named Jimmy Chung Lee, where he showed how he made what he called the $14 camera stabilizer. And it was made out of hardware store parts, pipes and pipe fittings and bolts and so on. And he had a pipe with a T and another pipe coming out, and the camera was bolted to the top, and a weight, a barbell kind of weight, was bolted to the bottom, and the mass helped stabilize it because of Newton's laws. Something that's stationary tends to remain stationary, or at least if it's in motion, it doesn't change its direction of motion very easily because of its mass, the inertia of it. So he's demonstrated on the internet, and you can search for it with your search engine and find the $14 camera stabilizer, and you'll see some examples. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I made one, but then I wanted mine to be a little different. For one thing, I want to be able to hold it with two hands so that I can support the weight a little better, and it balances better with this device out to the side. You're really holding a lot of the weight in one hand and using the other hand to stabilize it. And so I wanted two hands, and I want to be able to put lights on it. I don't know how often I'm going to want lights, but I thought it'd be nice to be able to have a light bar on it. So, and then in addition to that, I was making movies where I wanted to stop for a while and set the camera stationary, but be able to easily pick it up and move it. You can't do that with a tripod, because as soon as you pick it up, all the legs collapse in and you're stuck. You can do it with a monopod, but then the monopod isn't very heavy, so you don't have a lot of mass. So what we need is a camera stabilizer made out of hardware store pipes that has an extension that is your monopod. But here's my ultimate camera stabilizer now. I haven't really tried it yet, except a few short tests. So let me show you what goes into this. Don't laugh. It's like Jimmy Chung Lee's thing. He had this pipe and a T here, and this pipe, and then the barbell was screwed on to a steel cap like this one on the bottom. He drilled through the steel cap, put a bolt and a nut, and then bolted the barbell in. So I made a little variation of that. I found out that in the hardware store, you can buy plastic pipe that's threaded just like this black iron pipe, which is just a little smaller. It was just small enough to fit through the hole in the barbell plate that I happen to have out in my garage from an old barbell set. This is a 3-pound barbell, and the black iron pipe was just a little too large to fit through the hole, but this plastic pipe fits. This plastic pipe is called Schedule 80, and you find it in the plumbing department of the hardware store where they sell the white plastic pipe. It's great. And this little thing on the end is a kind of a chair leg cushion. You can find those at the hardware store. Rubber leg tips. It's the 1-inch diameter. The pipe is 3/4 inch diameter. Pipe is measured by the inside diameter, so it's actually larger than 3/4 outside, and this 1-inch inside diameter tip fits perfectly on it. Squeeze it right on. So now I have a short nipple. This little short pipe is called a nipple. And I have one of those screwed into the iron coupling, which is threaded female on both ends. Screwed in there. I slide the weight plate on, screw on another coupling. Now that's it's nice and snug and holds it in place, no drilling involved. That was nice. And now I got this extra nipple. Put that on the bottom. I can screw that in carefully so I don't damage the threads. And now I can rest it on something without doing any harm. And which helps you stabilize if you're taking a video and you might want to stabilize it on something. And then the cushion, my hands were really getting cold from holding the pipe outdoors on cold days. So I got some pipe insulation. Comes in a 10-foot length, real cheap, a couple dollars. And you can easily cut it and put it on there. So now I have a cushion grip. I left it loose. It is adhesive. There's a little cover over the two adhesive edges because it's intended to wrap around the pipe and stick to itself. But unfortunately, the ones at the hardware store where I shop were all designed for copper pipe, which has a thinner wall, so it doesn't really fit. The 1/2 inch was too small, and the 3/4 inch is a little too small. That's what this is. 1 inch was too loose. So I took the 3/4 inch. This is 3/4 inch black iron pipe, which is used for gas connections in construction. And then instead of just having an elbow here, here's a 6-inch black iron nipple, the iron cap. Instead of just an elbow, I got this thing that's called a reducing tee. It's 3/4 inch on this direction, 3/4 inch on that direction, so I get my handle. And then going up, it's a 1/2 inch, into which I screwed another Schedule 80 plastic pipe, so it's lightweight. And on the top of that, and these come in various lengths, and they're threaded already at both ends. So let me bring it down here, you can see better. So here's the T, here's the 18-inch, 1/2 inch Schedule 80 threaded on both ends. A plastic elbow that's threaded inside, 1/2 inch. And another, this is a 6-inch Schedule 80 T. And I had these bike lights, which are meant to be headlights for bikes, fit over handlebars. And I found that the 1/2 inch Schedule 80 was just a little too small, but with a few wraps of electrician's friction tape, this black friction tape that's fabric with rubber impregnated in it, I could get a good snug fit and tighten this holding nut. And so now I have this light, and this is a 3-level, you can even flash it. It's a low, medium, high, flashing and off bike light. It's a 53 LED bike light, runs with 3 AA batteries in it. You can get them on the internet direct from China for less than $10 each. I got 2 of them, which I had on hand, but you can buy them on the internet for less than $10 each, including postage. It's pretty cheap. And then I've got my bike light, my LED lights. You can aim them by turning the joints till you get things aimed right. And this top pipe is capped off with a threaded PVC plastic pipe cap. I got the flat kind made out of plastic. Jimmy Chung Lee used the iron pipe. Much harder to drill iron pipe than plastic, and the plastic is plenty strong for holding a lightweight camera. So that has a hole in it that's big enough for a 1/4 inch diameter screw. And this screw, the first screw I put in there was just an ordinary steel plated screw coming through with a nut that has a nylon insert. You can get these at the hardware store easily. It's a locking kind of nut. They sometimes call them nylock nuts. So that screws down on the hole on the end. At first I used this kind of screw, and this is the exact kind of screw that's on a tripod. It's a 1/4 inch diameter with 20 threads per inch, so it's called 1/4-20 when you go to the hardware store. And I got one that's 1.5 inches long, just right. Camera, I have this nut here just to keep the washer from falling off, but what you need is, as Jimmy Chung Lee did, you need a wing nut, which goes on with the wings down so you can screw it up against the bottom of the camera. A big washer, these are called fender washers. They have a small hole and a big diameter. So you screw this down, you screw your camera on, screw this up till it's snug when the camera's aimed forward, and you're all set to go. So I was saying at first I got a steel screw, but I had an experience years ago where I kept screwing a camera onto a tripod screw, and over the years the tripod socket in the camera got so worn down it was loose and the threads wouldn't hold any longer, because the camera was made with an aluminum body, and the threads were cut into the aluminum, and the steel being much stronger than the aluminum, eventually just them fumbling to get it on wore out the aluminum threads. So the other day I went out and got a nylon screw. It's just like this one, 1/4-20 by 1.5 inches long. You can get that at the hardware store in all those little drawers. And I replaced it. So there's the cap with the hole drilled in it. This is the end cap. It's threaded inside PVC pipe. And the 1/4-20, 1.5 inches long, the nylock nut, the wing nut, fender washer, camera. So now I've got, imagine my camera on here. Oh, and I also have another cushion here, so I can, if I want to, I can hold it with 2 hands Jimmy Chung Lee style, or 2 hands down here, cushion back on. I can move this down lower if I want, or up here, or under the camera. Seems to work the best for me though if I hold 2 hands and I walk kind of steady, kind of slightly bent at the knees, and just glide along. So last night I took some video outside on my deck using these lights, and some indoors with all lights turned off at night, to see what I can see with these 2 little 53 LED lights as my camera lights. It's certainly a lot more light than most little consumer type camcorders put out with their own built-in lights. So yeah, I'm going to put those videos on the internet, and you'll see it's a bit like a police show where they're walking through the house with their flashlight, because these are focused to be a long distance beam for a headlight of a bike. So I also tried spreading the light a little better by putting a diffuser in, just like you have on light fixtures, fluorescent lights. They have something in front of the light source that scatters the light. That's called a diffuser. The poor man's diffuser I made from 2 circles cut out of coffee filter paper. And I tried that too. It cuts down on the amount of light that comes out a little bit, but it does soften it. This protective plastic front end of the light can be removed by turning this a slight amount, pull it off. I took out the plastic circle, I used that to trace around it, cut out the paper, put it all back together with the paper inside and the plastic cover still in place. And that was my diffuser test. So I'll put those tests on my website, on my YouTube channel, and you can see what they look like. And then finally the monopod idea. Since I have this threaded bottom, I bought a 3-foot, your size may vary, choose one that's appropriate for you or get several, a 3-foot piece, threaded at both ends, hardware store, same place. Put the rubber cap on one end, one of those rubber feet, and now this end can screw in here, and I have a monopod. This one's a little tall, but actually I kind of like it being a little tall, because when I video, then I look up at the camera, and that way the camcorder's LCD screen is tilted down a little bit instead, and well, we'll talk about that in a future video. Why that helps me see better the image I'm recording on the LCD screen. But you could certainly get a shorter one and have it whatever size is appropriate for you. So now you can just set it down, pick it up. So you can be stationary and just kind of use the monopod and your 2 legs to form your tripod. And you can do tilting, you can pick it up. I even took a video by raising it up high with the tripod, with the monopod as my handle. It gives you a lot of different things you can try, and certainly these are removable, so if all this stuff isn't needed, you can strip it down to something smaller. You can even go back to the single-sided Jimmy Chung Lee style. So you might want to buy some of these parts and give that a try if you'd like to make a Steadicam for cheap. So check my website again, my YouTube channel, to see the results of these. Hi again, this is a postscript. I just looked at my video and I saw I didn't really get it, didn't get the light bar into the picture, so here's a better view. So you can see here are the 18-inch risers, 6-inch crossbar. Here are the little 53 LED bike lights, and I'll show you how they work. First time you click it, you just get an inner ring, and then second time you get more LEDs come on, and you click it a third time and they're all on, 53 LEDs. Fourth time it flashes for bike light. You want a flasher, and then the next click turns it off again. And it's powered by 3 AAA alkaline batteries inside this chamber. I got 2 of them. As I said, they're pretty cheap on the internet. Search for 53 LED bike light, bicycle light, or bike torch, depending upon what part of the world you live in. And they come from China. From several people in China buy them there and ship them, about $10. And here's the little assembly for the now nylon screw. Because the nylon is softer than the aluminum, if anything's going to wear, it'll be the nylon, not the aluminum body at the bottom of the camera. So it's a little safer bet for screwing the camera on, because you can't, with a tripod you can screw you can turn the screw But here you have to turn the camera so it wobbles a little bit while you're getting it engaged. This is a safer way to build it with the nylon. And that's the story. So you know, you can aim this by turning these, get it aligned. You can loosen the little nut that holds this on, it's a little thumb nut, and tilt it down or up. It's pretty handy. So it doesn't put even though it puts out a lot of light, it's still not a floodlight that you'll see on some of my tests how it looks.